Oh, hey, Jonathan, how are you today?
I'm doing great. Weather's great in New York City as well. How about for you, Charlie?
Likewise, it's a glorious 30 degrees, but I heard it's going to be thunderstorms later today, so I might have to go outside after this podcast, enjoy the sun before it starts to rain. So, the question that I always ask everybody is, how do you like your coffee in the morning?
I'm actually a completely black coffee person. I, and I mean, it's even the same for alcohol. Like, I prefer like straight tequila shots than like cocktail drinks. But I just like these things to sort of like stimulate me. I do fast for a little bit, and I get that kick from like black coffee, and then it makes me super productive deep work until like early noon. So that's kind of
Was
my schedule.
So it sounds like it was like a very conscious decision. Do you like all of the extra stuff that you can get with early coffee, or you just like, no, I want the purest form of these things?
I guess I'm just very objective focused, so I don't care about if it's like if anything's like too sweet and it tastes good. I just feel like I'm drinking it, and I guess it's a placebo where it tastes better for me just because I know I'm getting a result from it, which is
Yeah,
that like
yeah.
focus.
That sounds like really that you're staying true to your values, and that's what we're going to kind of cover as well in today's podcast. So, what is it that you do, and why do you do it?
Yeah, so I founded a marketing agency called the SaaS Consultants, where we're taking more of a consulting approach compared to the traditional marketing agency for SaaS businesses because we are a team of 6 to 7 figure SaaS founders. We run our own businesses. Some of us have gotten our businesses acquired as early as 21 years old, and it's because we have dealt with issues finding product market fit, the right go-to market strategy back in our early days. My very first product, I used to struggle to get users for $20 per month, and we couldn't even close deals there. If we gave it away for a free trial, then they still wouldn't even end up using it. We can see all over the tracking on the analytics. So after I realized that we had to take that extreme ownership and learn to pitch by ourselves, which is super great learning from the service-based industry of marketing agencies. We increased all of our average order values. For my own app, it went from $20 to $60, and then also the conversion rates have all increased by over 10%. So I found out that it's really amazing. A lot of us are highly technical. Like coming from, I was a software engineer as well, but we built a beautiful app, but we didn't know how to run a business, and the business is money in. So yeah, it's super hard to deal with right now, like fundraising as well as a lot of marketing agencies definitely don't do that great of a job. So we wanted to be that the SaaS consultants that can actually empathize and help people with much better results.
So if I repeat back, you're a SaaS owner. You've built and grown your own SaaS company. Discovered that the things that you learned because you took extreme ownership, and I'd love to deep dive in that because I know exactly which book that has come from, and it's a fantastic book. You took extreme ownership over to your own business, discovered other SaaS companies were struggling because they were going to the market because the agencies weren't fulfilling the needs properly, and now you're coming in and showing other SaaS companies how it's done. Now that's what I really want to get into today's podcast is, if you're a SaaS company listening, how do you generate users? How do you keep them sticky? Where can you use automation to help leverage this flywheel, this scale up? But first, when you say your needs weren't being met by the agencies to do the job, like what was the big thing that wasn't happening that you've discovered you needed to implement into your business, into your SaaS? And now actually into your clients' SaaSes, I should say.
Yeah, for sure. So it's funny because we are our own like exact ICP. So we are very like engineer focused tech founders that didn't have marketing or business acumen. So all we had was a beautiful product. And when people marketed the product, I think selling SaaS is different than most agencies that just did B2B local businesses, like let's say contractors, roofers. I don't think it's the same thing to market. And I learned that when you're selling SaaS, at least what's most successful for us and all of our clients is that you can't ever feature sell. You have to sell like the outcome. So even if I'm selling a CRM, I'm not gonna in the super saturated code outbound space email somebody, hey, do you want a CRM for your construction company for project management? I would be selling like an outcome that would help them either save time or money, and that's directly the service that I'm going to sell. So SaaS stands for SaaS, software as a service, right? And that's exactly the same approach when I go code outbound, because these people are very senior and busy, and buying features, they also wouldn't pay a high price for it. But when I turn it into like a done with you or done for you solution, they would pay a higher ticket price. There's more retention, and they're just more willing to even talk in the first place, get the foot in the door. So it was just a win all around to start messaging in that approach.
Because let's be honest, nobody really wants to buy a CRM system. So buying a CRM system, that's boring, you know. But what a CRM system gives a business, what's the outcomes of the business, that's far more exciting to the users. So let's put this into like a context then. So a SaaS business, they've got a beautiful product, the UX is amazing, they really are serving the market because they know they can solve problems. How would you go about creating sales funnels and generating those new users to the site? What's the process look like?
I always build funnels with I'd say about 20 plus touch points, because it's as I was saying, how cold outbound, especially, let's say, it's a super oversaturated spot, and people need to build that brand awareness now. There's that saying in marketing where someone needs to consume about 7 hours of your content to be ready to be sold to. So I think in the very same way, a lot of people would say, due to competition, like cold email is dead, LinkedIn DMs are dead, ads are dead. But I think that running an omnichannel funnel is one of the best ways to do a couple of touch points in each of the channels. And then even if none of them work, then finally at the end, when we place an SDR, BDR to make the cold call, there's not much resistance. People are always afraid that there's going to be a lot of like animosity when they are reached out to over the phone. But pretty often in this oversaturated industry, they just simply didn't have the time to answer. And more touch points really do the job against the competition and builds brand awareness and conversion. So it really would be building that an omnichannel funnel.
Now I remember writing papers on omnichannel 10 years ago for businesses.
Yeah.
So, I absolutely understand your point, but there might be some people who might not understand what that looks like and all these different touch points. And can you give examples of what that omnichannel would look like in all those different touch points?
Yeah, for sure. So for example, if you are doing B2B to local businesses, such as a coffee shop, and I got my lead generation from scraping Google Maps, then they're going to provide a website, which may also inside have their LinkedIn and other socials, as well as directly from the Google Maps scrape, you will have their Instagram and then their phone number. So already there, that's already 3+ channels, and every single one, of course, there's one message and a couple of follow-ups. So you would be able to, if you were able to follow up with them about 3 times in each channel, plus an initial outreach, then that's already 4 times 3. That's already 12+ touch points. So yeah, there's plenty of opportunity, and you should never just reach out, call them one time, and then count them out.
Because I think that's the big fallacy, isn't it? It's like, and I'm going to make it real basically. If I put one advert out, if I put 500 flyers out and I get nothing back, like you said, you just go automatically, oh, this doesn't work, it's dead. And it's like, no, actually, how much volume did you put out? Like, how many times did the users see the advert? Like, I have on my like Facebook advertising at the moment, I'm trying to actually hit that adverts, I try and get the user to see that advert at least 3 times through that retargeting. Never mind the several touch points that they've seen, because this is a retargeting sales ad, you know?
Yeah.
Like, they've seen the brand several times beforehand, like you laid out. Like, they might have seen their Instagram profile, they might have seen several pieces of Reels content, they might have downloaded a lead magnet. Like, I'm already building some up before I even hit them with the sale of the ad, and trying to get to see the ads, that same ad, like 3 times over as a minimum, just to get the conversion. And I know that I'll get a low cost acquisition.
I'd actually like to build upon that, because from my ads so far in the past, I've talked to about like 20 to 25 startups a month, just from that one channel. And some of them want to know right off the top of the bat, what is your marketing strategy? And then since I do omnichannel funnels, I run ads, but one of the ones that I run is email. And a lot of them just tell me, hey, I already tried email, it doesn't work. I'm looking for something else. And then I asked them what they did, and they would essentially say that I made an Instantly account. Following a YouTube video. Step 1, I made an Instantly account. Step 2, I bought an Apollo list of 2,000 leads. Step 3, I sent them out, hey, do you want my product? And then step 4, I had 0 bookings. But just as you were saying, that's too soon to quit. There's so many things that you can do, like retargeting or change your messaging, and like every single channel works as long as you really figure out I guess what like the full puzzle pieces as for how it's going to work for your product and business.
No, I like it. And so, well, let's put it into a new scenario. Let's take it into like a different direction. Let's say the business, they've worked on their messaging, they've worked on their ICP, they've maybe pivoted a few times because they've really got to learn what it is that they do and how they deliver it and things. But they're in a position now where they've got some stuff running. Where can they embed automation to leverage that growth? Where's some of your top tips that they could be putting in?
Yeah, so on top of just marketing, I am a CRM administrator and consultant at many enterprise companies as well. So that's really going to be in the email automation tool or simply your CRM. There's so many things that you can automate, such as wait times or putting them down a different route as for emails based on responses or how they filled out the lead form. So I think that every single business should have a CRM. It has a bit higher of a learning curve, and it's really unfortunate that some people would pay $800 for HubSpot but only use the email send out feature. But yeah, if they have to, they should be hiring somebody right now to help them like automate the email process further and optimize it and do retargeting, resurgence, and all of that. But otherwise, your business would be bleeding all over the place.
Well, exactly. How do you predict where you might be having these users not being retained? Like, they're not. I'm just gonna clip that out and start again. So, like you said, you just got these users are sort of bleeding out, and there's like these gaps that could be the hole just by not using that automation. What are things that you can put in place? Like, once the users are using the product, they're in the business, how do you keep them retained? Like, how do you keep those users sticky?
Yeah, so I guess there's a different answer for every stage of the client. If we're going to speak about retention as a user, I think it's making sure that they feel supported. Because so many SaaS founders that I speak to, they get on the call, and as they're going over their like MRR breakdown, some are, funny enough, very proud that they're like 20% of the money is coming in from people forgetting to cancel. Right? So I'm like, okay, all right. I mean, I'm not to be like a social justice warrior thing. Like, all of us people in SaaS have made our money like that, but it's not something that you want to rely on. And a number like 20 to 30% is way too high. We need to, like, at that point, we need to like work on product, work customer support. So as easy as, let's say, a CRM may look to you, HubSpot looks very friendly. People don't use 90% of the features. Most people are not power users, so they need to receive the technical support, and so that they can actually like receive the outcomes that they were pitched to. And that's going to be such as email, SMS follow-ups, getting customer support, and making it also more personalized in a way where it sounds like it's coming from a person. not just a machine generated support ticket. So I really think it's helping with the customer success and technical support aspect.
That was so funny. I was literally just having this conversation the other day where we now have so much AI and we have so much of these bots and these systems to help us do like customer support. Like a lot of companies now, you come to them and you know you're speaking to a bot before you go and speak to an actual human first. And you just said there, like, make it sound like a human. How do you go about that? How do you make it sound like a human? I know that sounds really silly because we are humans, but how do we not make it sound so robotic?
I think this has to do with the copy, where to be more casual, you would have to simply make it more concise. That's number one. And then number two, it should be perhaps the person that initially onboarded them, or they are familiar and they recognize the name. Then that should be the person that is in the signature. And you're not technically lying, because that is the account and the user associated on the CRM that it's shooting from. And if they respond to, that person would see it. So yeah, it needs to be a person that they're familiar with, and very concise and more casual, interactive copy.
And I like that you are so knowledgeable about the data and about the breakdown of these different touch points. So you're just going back to 20-30% of the users are just people who forget to cancel. This might sound like a bit of a ridiculous question, but when you're analyzing the business, which are the KPIs that are the most important and the least important?
I think LTV, especially based on the time length, how many months they are retented, that's one of the most important things, because perhaps then they have a great product. The more power users they have, that means that maybe the bottleneck is simply lead generation and they're not speaking to enough people or getting the product out there enough. So I always feel like when I see products with over 6 months retention, especially for low ticket SaaS, that's a project that I want to work on for sure, because I just have to help them scale it up. But then it's a very uphill battle when I see the typical low ticket SaaS that has 2 to 3 months, and then months 2 and 3, sometimes it's just because they forgot to cancel. That's not a business model that I want to work in, unless it's just a lead magnet where they have another like back end 4-figure offer. But since I consult a lot of early stage startups, a lot are in that unfortunate scenario of like 2 to 3 months retention and then no back end offer, and it's just not something that you really want to like work with.
Yeah, because what you've just started to kind of touch on, and I guess this is the difference, like you said, of being somebody who's knows how to build a SaaS to actually the business modeling and then the sales of it. There's 3 different components. But what you'd start to touch on is like the theory of constraints. What are the different constraints that's holding that business back? And a lot of the startups, 9 out of 10 times, is going to always be the lead generation. They're not building that brand awareness, that funnel. They're not going to be able to almost have the time or the leverage to go and fix some of these problems of increasing the amount of stickiness, increasing the amount of retention. Like how do you increase the amount of value, the revenue per client?
I think sometimes the value is there, and that's why they bought into it. But it's really what I was speaking about, how to turn them into power users, as easy as the UI and the features seem to us, it's not to somebody who only has a couple minutes in their day. So they need to get those automated follow-ups, and they need to get the technical support that they need. One of my favorite automations to send is to see if perhaps if we can track if they aren't using the features to its full capabilities, such as some add-on feature that is giving people a lot of results, then we should send them a ping letting them know to try this out, send them a tutorial, or can we get on a call so that I can sort of teach you how to do it. So it's really that learning curve issue, and sometimes and there already is value, they just don't know how to be a power user.
So what is a power user for people who don't know? How do you define that?
Yeah. So I was using an example where most startups pay $800 for HubSpot, but only send out emails with it. And a power user would be someone, I'm just gonna throw a number, that can actually use about 80% of HubSpot's capabilities, to its full extent. So that would really, really maximize your retention. You can a very clear pipeline as well as the automations within it. So it really would be like the expert on your team for the product.
So that really goes back to like the ICP. Then it's like going back to, I'm always the adoption, the Simon Sinek like adoption curve. There is, let's say you've got 3 verticals for your SaaS product. I'll use the example from this morning's meeting. They have three verticals. They have a developer. Oh my gosh, they got a developer, they got accountants, and they've got one more that's decided to escape my mind right now. But they know that 2 of those ICPs have got a higher level of education and knowledge around their solution already. So when they come into the business, they instantly purchase, they instantly get the value, and they instantly use all of the capabilities straight away. But they're not necessarily the biggest part of the market, and hence why they have a tertiary ICP, which is far more of a longer game that they put into their business. Like, am I summarizing it correctly?
What you're saying is a solution, but I think we're speaking about like 2 separate approaches, because one is having like an in-house person that already is knowledgeable. But if you're selling, let's say, like lower ticket SaaS, then you don't want it like done for you. You want them to simply learn how to use it themselves, and sort of that whole like passive income thing, why people get into low ticket SaaS. So I think that they just simply need customer support so that they can like fly on their own. And that's just the example that I was getting at, because that would improve their retention. It would be very difficult to expect people like on the lower to mid market to have someone hired internally on their team for another, let's say, like 85K salary just to use your like $300 a month SaaS. But that, although that's what would keep the retention.
No, that makes sense. Now, we spoke about obviously your new business, your new venture, because you are solving the problem in the market. You're solving you've got an extreme ownership to solve your own problems. What does the vision now look like for you with all of this experience? And with all of this experience, what does the next 3 years look like for you?
Yeah, the next 3 years. So while our marketing services and consulting primarily serve more of the mid to up market, but we also created a Discord community where we offer free coaching to people, let's say, that just figured out their go-to-market strategy and product market fit. And these are people that maybe they fundraised the pre-seed, but they still need some help. And we are all SaaS founders on my team that have gotten 6 to 7 figure businesses bootstrapped, or we raised rounds and we gotten our business acquired. I think client acquisition is all the same. So no matter what niche we go into right now, we have figured out the formula to do this over and over again. After all, this is like my 3rd business as well. So I think in the very same way, this community would definitely help more of the people starting out struggling, because it's such a shame that so many people, they would pivot a bunch of times and just end up giving up on their dream. On the other hand, I get on a lot of consulting calls with founders that have built products for a full year and barely have revenue coming in, and they keep getting feedback from one client and going back to product instead of like selling.
Yeah,
right.
Just keep selling to that wider market, and then you'll be able to fix a load of your problems in the future.
For sure. So I guess it just pains me because out of like empathy as a SaaS founder myself, that I keep hearing about those 2 scenarios, when probably if they talk to other like more qualified people like us rather than marketing agencies, they maybe in 3 months they could have like burst past this plateau.
That makes sense. And then you've obviously this is your 3rd business. What's the one thing you would have What's the one thing that you know now that you wish you knew in your first business?
I think it's less about features. It's really more about like pitching. I really think business is more about sales. And you can, if two people were both selling a bar of soap exactly the same, then one bar of soap can still go for like $25, while one can go for $1. One can be viewed as a Louis Vuitton level product, and the other can be viewed as a dollar store product. So, in my very first business, I increased the average order value by simply building a pitch deck constructed for my ICP. I filled out like an avatar sheet, all of that, and we sat down for 2 hours to figure out, playing the 5 whys game, like why are we facing these objections? And then without changing a thing in the product, things started converting. People started paying way more money. So and then I took that into every other business that I worked in, and we always got to 6 figures revenue, annual revenue, much quicker.
So to summarize, it's, you know, really looking at the sales, looking at not obviously avoiding the features, and really selling the outcomes of like what happens after they've used the features, and then going into the objections and handling those objections. Now this is I could go into more of like the sales process, but you're saying that's the number one thing that you would have nailed from the start before anything else. Then the customer service, it sounds like, just from today's podcast.
Yeah, completely. I really think that it's so much less about the product than people think, but that's what they're spending 90% of their time on.
Well, I think that is a really great place to end today's podcast, because if you're, like you said, a lot of SaaS owners, they want to just keep looking after the product and making the product amazing, when actually sounds like sales and marketing is the key to overcome a lot of their challenges.
Yeah, I completely agree. I have a friend that says that it's actually flipped. Maybe the product is only 10% of the effort,
and then the other 90% is the sales.
It's a good chunk of that 90%.
I joke. Oh, amazing. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for your time today, and I look forward to speaking to you soon.
Yeah, for sure. It was a pleasure. Thanks for inviting me to be on the podcast, Shirley.